Hello and welcome to North Bank Podcast. I'm your host, Holly, and I'm joined by Stef. Hi, Stef.
Hello.
What are we doing today?
We are looking back at the first Premier League game of the season against Coventry.
I should perhaps explain that I've tried to introduce that about 5 times and had to start again because I keep tripping over my words. Yes, we are looking back. The first Premier League weekend is done and dusted, and we are going to look back at Arsenal's very comfortable 3-0 victory against Coventry, but also a look at our rivals and how they fared in their respective games over the weekend. It is quite exciting. We're not quite top of the league still, but we're near enough. Brighton have that honour. Bizarre hammering of Aston Villa on Sunday or Sunday.
It was Sunday.
Indeed. Okay, look, we are looking back at Coventry. We're going to look at these guys. We're going to have a little nod to the transfer window. So, as ever, here's a few questions that we're going to tackle as we go through the show. Number one, are we playing with the handbrake off this season? Is the pressure off? Or is it just that we've got our best players fit? Or is it we've been up against weaker opposition? Man City and Coventry. Question 2. Is the, air quotes, treatment of Martinelli unfair or part of our requirement to make unwanted players less comfortable about staying at the club? This is something that I've been banging on about for a while. But am I comfortable with the treatment of Martinelli? Well, something to consider. And the final question, would you be more worried if you were a Spurs fan or a United fan? I've got a very specific answer to that question. I know which.
I think I'd probably do as well.
Yeah. And a throwaway question. I saw it somewhere over social media over the weekend. Name Arteta's 3 most influential signings. Because we're coming to the end of what could be a pretty manic transfer window, from all accounts, who do you think are Arteta's 3 most influential signings? Anyway, all of those things and much more. Oh, just a little I want to do a couple of shout-outs at the start. First up, Richard on our Patreon hates doing score predictions, but I forced him to before the Coventry game, and he predicted 3-0. So, A, well done, Richard, and B, you've now got to predict every game from here on in. And another shout out then to my mate Liam, who very kindly, before the game against Coventry, and I'm showing the camera for those of you not watching, handed me a gift, the programme from the All-Ireland final between Mayo and Kerry this summer. So those of you who've been listening, I think it's absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for that. And a little segue from that, Steph, Fantasy League, how's that going?
Have you thrown to me just to rub it in?
Yeah.
The Fantasy League is going well. We're upwards of, I don't know, in the 80s or something for the people who have joined up. And I'm second after week 1 behind Barry O'Donovan and his team at Mayo for Sandwiches.
No, that's really good. So Mayo for Sam. Sam Maguire's the trophy that Mayo won for the first time in 75 years in Ireland. And Mayo also, I'm explaining this, I don't know, what would you call it? Pun? Mayo for sandwiches.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, Barry, let me know if I got this wrong. But Mayo for Sam, as in mayonnaise for sandwiches. I'm assuming. But well done, Barry. Can I just doff my cap to the 2 of the other names in the top 4? Better Call Sol, as in Tzol.
Zol.
Better
Yes.
Call Sol, I like that, is in 3rd place. And Set Piece again, Ole is in 3rd place, Guy Kirkby, but he's got the peace sign as after set piece sign. I just thought it was quite cute. Anyway, so that's my little shout outs. Steph, Arsenal.
Yeah.
You've had a few days to ruminate. A nice, comfortable 3-0 victory, stress-free. How are you feeling about it?
Feeling good. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago now because obviously with the Friday night kickoff, and we deliberately wanted to wait until all the games have been played, including Chelsea last night, basically to take the temperature for where everyone is kind of at. Not that you can massively tell. There'll be a few knee-jerk reactions, I'm sure, in the press and online and amongst various fan bases. But, you know, it was a good indication, and it was very funny to me, listening to lots of managers whose teams perhaps didn't get the most positive results talk about how, oh yeah, well, people coming back at different times and the World Cup and the blah blah blah, and it's like over. Alvaro Arbeloa being one. His Fulham team lost to Chelsea last night as we record. He said, well, yeah, I've watched all the games. Yeah, no one's ready. I'd like to disagree with you there, Alvaro, because I thought Arsenal were pretty good for their victory. I know there's the caveat of it's Coventry and this, that and the other, but, you've still got to go out and perform, and perform we did. I was very excited by what I saw.
Beating newly promoted teams isn't for everyone.
It is not, as this weekend has proven.
And I'd suggest that Brighton and Brentford's performances, or their managers might argue that their teams were ready.
Exactly.
It is excuse making. I will. That same excuse was put forward by De Zerbi, but we'll touch on our rivals and how they did at this weekend as well a bit later. Back to the Arsenal game, and in terms of team news, there were certainly a couple of surprises for me. One you'd suggest was maybe enforced with Bruno Guimaraes' injury. The other one was a surprise. Back five, no surprise, Raya and White, Mosquera, Gabriel and Calafiori. Midfield three, Declan Rice started, and do you know what? It's good that we heard these scare stories that he wouldn't be playing again till after the first international break. Now, anyone who thought that clearly hasn't watched or doesn't know anything about Declan Rice and his character and personality. So it was no surprise. I didn't want him to start, and I don't think he would have started had Bruno G been fit. But he started and he played like 65, 70 minutes. He started alongside Miles Lewis-Skelly and Martin Odegaard. No surprise with those two. And then the front three, I did... spun a surprise. Saka did start on the right. Now, again, rather than be concerned about that, we should be quite happy about that, that he felt fit and able to start, and the Arteta and the medical team agreed. He started on the right and Havertz through the middle and Zolis on the left. How did you think, or what did you think when you saw the team selection first?
Again, like you, perhaps... those players who went late on in the World Cup might have been afforded a bit more sort of time off. However, a lot was made, even from Saka himself, about how he may have been fitter than people were portraying him in the press. And Rice, the reports were that he wanted to come back from his holiday like a day early, because that's what he does, isn't it? It looks like we're in pretty rude health, touch wood, apart from the Bruno knock, and everyone looks up for it, which was pleasing to see. There was no warming up in terms of the performance. The first half was arguably when we were at our most dangerous, and it just shows the rude health of it. And also, the quality of the bench. You bring in two World Cup winners on. You've got Nkapie, who's a very well-seasoned international, and you've got the likes of Victor Gyökeres, who didn't even get on. And a lot has been made of that, because there are still rumours around that a move could be on the horizon. However, like we said last season, when we bulked up the squad with those signings and increased our depth, yeah, all right, we're playing one game a week for the next sort of, 3 or 4, but it'll soon ramp up. And when those Champions League games come and when those Carabao Cup games come, we're going to need that squad. So, yeah, all right, Victor didn't get on the pitch, and I'm sure he would have wanted to, but he'll get his chance. Don't worry about that.
What do you think of the atmosphere generally in the build-up to the game?
Well, really positive, and it was that unique... What was it? It was the novelty of the opening game of a season as champions, to the point where I walked a slightly different route to the stadium as well. Because I know. Well, my new rule on superstition is to not have any superstitions, to constantly change. That's my new...
I'm recoiling at the mere thought of that.
So the food was different. I wore different sort of trainers that I normally go to. Honestly, you
Steph, I've got physical pain beside me now.
We won. It's fine. So now I just need to do something different every game. Anyway, so we walked a slightly different route because I wanted to walk towards the away end to see the big, bold letters of champions above the away end. Because I thought I'd done it but I just hadn't. I didn't have any sort of pictures in my phone or whatever, and I just wanted those as a nice little banner for my social media and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it was a nice novelty. And actually, I have to say, I thought the Coventry fans were really good as well, because there was a few of them walking through, and they were singing "Checker Trade Champions." You'll never sing that.
And of course, they arrived as champions as well.
Yeah,
so it was quite a unique little fixture, I guess.
It was good.
And it was the first time that the team had been out of on the Emirates pitch as champions.
Yeah.
So it's quite a special occasion, and the fear might have been complacency, I don't know, arrogance, but no, it was a real continuation of the Community Shield's performance, where, as per my first question, it does appear like we are playing with weight lifted. I know it's a far too small a selection of games to accurately state that. However, you can only beat the teams in front of you, and Man City clearly further behind in their preparations in terms of squad build as well, and it showed. And we raced into a 2-0 lead on 23 minutes. That's the earliest we've done that since Wolves in 2023.
Wow. Really?
So, I mean, that's a good way to start the season. I think it was 2-0, 23 minutes. And I just love the 3 goal scorers in the game. The stat, and I think I've been banging on about they started one game together last season. And this is what happens when they start together. They each score. Havertz, Saka, Ødegaard, all on the score sheet. All playing really well, fluid football. Augmented by Zolis on the left and Calafiori on the left. And in fact, 2 of our 3 goals came from the left. So left is beating right 2-1 at the moment in terms of influence, impact on the scoreline. Havertz as well. That's 5 goals and 1 assist in his last 6 starts. He's on a bit of form. And that'll feed into questions I've got later about the transfer window. Yeah. But we'll go through the man of the match and so on in a minute. But how, that first half, 2-0, the absence of any degree of anxiety or stress was notable.
As you would expect, it being the first game of the season. Those last run of games before we secured the title at the end of last season is all about content. It's the end of the season. You haven't won the trophy for 22 years. You've got Man City breathing down your neck. Of course, there's going to be so much more angst. So it is nice to feel that sense of relaxation going into it. I do just want to give a shout out, and I know Chris does later when we go through the man of the match things. Yes, Saka, Ødegaard, Havertz, but also Ben White on that right with his overlapping runs, which Timber doesn't do to the same degree. Timber likes to occupy a slightly more inverted role. So that was great to see as well. And it just led to a very, very positive and relaxed first half. I, for one, yes, Havertz is on good form. I'm desperate for Saka to find his groove and start posting, goals and assists again like he has done in the past.
Yeah, but I mean, at least Havertz and Ødegaard are in their groove.
And a reporter said to Ødegaard afterwards, he's like, "Oh, if you count the Community Shield, you've now scored more goals than you did last season." And Ødegaard just went, "Yeah, don't remind me."
Yeah, but the Community Shield is considered a competitive game.
Sure.
So he has got 2 goals this season, which is double what he got last season.
Yep.
He got 1 goal in the entirety of last season, and everything I've heard about the training ground, he's come back like a man possessed. That he's so desperate, and that's really interesting because it's so hard to retain the league title.
Yep.
Liverpool never did it, the Premier League title. No, Liverpool haven't done it. And Chelsea have done it, United have done it, and City have done it multiple times.
Yeah. It's
really difficult, and because that's kind of unconscious, subconscious relaxation, perhaps.
Yeah.
We've done it, but we've added a 24-year-old with a point to prove because he failed in his 3 years at Norwich, perceived, right? Solis.
Yep.
We've added 2 28-year-olds, Konza and Bruno G, who have come into... No, they've both won trophies with their previous clubs recently, League Cup, Newcastle, Europa League last season, Conza. But they've come into a changing room full of Premier League winners, and they are not. And they're 28. This is it. Yep. This is their time. They're in their prime now. Centre back between 28 and 32. That's your prime time. Central midfielder, 28 years old. You will never know the game better than you know it now, and you will never be. You're at the peak of your powers for the next 2 years. Central midfield. So they must be so driven. And Ødegaard coming back like a man possessed, because he will feel, as will Saka, as will Havertz to a degree, that they've missed out on large chunks of a title-chasing, title-winning team. Yeah. Zubimendi apparently has come back. We had slight maybe concerns about his stickability overseas for a second season, Zubimendi, but I've read that he has come back completely tuned in and motivated, and not a hint of any desire to go back to Spain. So we won. It's almost like we won the league last year in spite of so many things.
Yeah.
And that those things we won it in spite of are actually going to come back and this season be the reason that we actually go on and retain it. Perhaps. Caveats, obviously. There might have been a question there, Steph, somewhere, but I completely lost it.
Well, it's just looking at the motivation of the team. I was talking. I mean, even someone like Ben White, who's had a difficult couple of years, to come back and be in a position where his body looks like it's in rude health. However, the Konza signing is to augment that, because we can't flog him to death like we did before again, and so that's why the squad is going to be needed. And of all the teams over the weekend that we saw, you could argue that we looked kind of best placed. Yeah, Brentford, brilliant performance, picked up where they left off. Brighton just absolutely took advantage of a Villa side reeling, and then Chelsea last night. The attack looked good, but boy, did they look vulnerable at the back. So we're in a good place. And there's very few pundits like ourselves who aren't predicting Arsenal. And that's the safe bet. If you're a bookie, Arsenal have won the league. They arguably have strengthened their squad. Why would you predict anything else? Now, anything can happen. Haaland will probably score a bag full of goals, because that tends to be what he does. And like you say, Chelsea's attack could certainly run them a long way. But in terms of all those factors, continuity, the player health and all those sorts of things, we look very well placed. And Coventry performance was very professional and enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that consistency that we've demonstrated last season will stand us in better stead this season, when there's so much flux in all these other clubs. In my instant reaction, I name-checked Miles Lewis-Skelly. I said everything went through him. And then, you go away from the game and you read up about it and you think back, you look at the highlights and you realise that Ødegaard was just sublime and Solis was superb and Havertz was great and all of those things. But I didn't do a whole stats thing on the game because there's too many days passed between the game and this podcast. But Miles Lewis-Skelly had 94 touches, more than anybody else in the game. So my sense at the time was that he was dominant, is backed up by the statistics. He had a 95% success rate in passing as well. I thought he was brilliant. Now, he doesn't feature in my man of the match or most impressed by, which is why I'm name-checking him now. Let's go on to that. Do you want to... Has Chris... Chris is still in Cyprus. I think... when's our next one? No, he won't be around for our next podcast, but he will be back in the country for the Villa game.
After Villa? Post-Villa?
Yeah, so we'll be doing... hopefully we'll be doing... And this will be the first time Chris hears about this. Hopefully we'll be doing a live podcast straight after the Villa game. Chris is shouting at the
We shall see.
Podcast now.
I won't. I'll be at the game.
You'll be at the game, yeah.
Anyway, so his man of the match, he said Zolis. Almost like a Trossard-Martinelli hybrid, efficient, quick, hard-working with great instinct for the right pass. Looking like a bargain buy already. He says he also... Oh, did you want to move on to impressed or save that?
You do your man of the match.
Well, my man of the match was also Zollis.
Yeah.
And back at the time, I thought it's great because he had this thing of like... He got the ball and then he would just run towards their goal. It was... Like, I know that seems like a simple thing, but it really was such a refreshing thing to see.
I've got a stat.
Go for it.
A stat. He carried the ball for 290 metres in the game, of which 200 was progressive. This is from SofaScore.
Okay.
By comparison, right? So he carried the ball 290 metres. 200 was progressive. 200 metres was progressive, right? By comparison, Saka on the other side, same position, other side of the pitch, 124 metres compared to 290 carried, and progressive 65 metres compared to 200 metres.
Wow.
That is insane.
Yeah.
And he's got end products. He's got this capacity to, I think Arteta said he's got 30 different outballs at any one moment in his head. Go on.
So he was asked about the who scored? Was it the Saka goal where he put it across and the keeper tipped it, and then Saka scored? He was asked about that. I must have been a foreign broadcaster about it, and he says, "Look, in fantasy football, that's an assist for me. I get the 3 points." And then Art de Roche, who covers the Arsenal, and he was on the Arsenal Beat podcast, reported that when Zollis was in Belgium, he played fantasy football, and he's now playing it now he's in England. And not only that, he captains himself, means he gets bonus points. So no wonder he's pushing for those goals and assists because he knows it's going to benefit his team. I thought that was fantastic.
And has he not got that assist?
No,
see, because if
in official stats, I don't know. On fantasy football, he's got it.
Okay, see, I don't know if he's officially got that assist. Now he should,
no, I don't know either.
Because if you look at, say, the Leeds goal, direct free kick, Stack, Sells, the Forest goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He pushed the ball into the net.
Yeah.
Right, so the ball changed direction after the goalkeeper hit it, but it still ended up in the net. But because it was on target, it's given as the stat goal, which it should be. So, Solis, I mean, the argument might be that the Coventry goalkeeper changed the trajectory of the ball a little bit, but it was like more of a deflection.
It's not on the BBC app.
That's wrong. Start a petition.
Calafiori and White get an assist. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so just on your Solis thing, I mean, at one point he turned up on the right wing, putting in a really good cross with his right foot, that he'd kind of continued his run right the way through. Now, that's got to be a tactical thing as well. And by tactical, I mean like Arteta's given him the freedom to do that. If you feel like this is what you should do right now, like he does with Calafiori. Mm. And the other thing about Zollis, though, was his defensive work.
Yeah. Oh, he was fully committed, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I think Chris just compared like a hybrid of Trossard and Martinelli. I still got the Alexis Sanchez vibes from him.
When you look at his gait and like his silhouette, I can absolutely see that. Yeah.
But he's got a powerful shot as well. Like
absolutely.
There's real meaning in everything, real like determination in everything that he does. And I love it. I mean, again, small sample, but that's Man City and Coventry. Mm. You know, we can link him to Transfer Market in a minute.
Okay.
Right, go on then, Chris and his...
So, player impressed by, but not necessarily man of the match. Chris has put Ben White. Hold my hands up here as I thought injuries had taken their toll and thought we should maybe cash in on him, but seeing him link up with Saka and Odegaard like seasons gone by was a joy to watch. There will be many claim it was only Coventry, but he looked very sharp indeed. Let's not break him again. And yeah, I fully echo that and said it sort of earlier, really. My player... He
is, if we're picking our most offensive first team, he is in it, isn't he?
Yeah, him and Calafiori.
If you're talking about a home game against bottom half opposition,
Ben
White plays.
Mm-hmm.
And Calafiori plays.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, my most impressed player is Lewis Skelly. And like for all the stats that you gave about, volume of touches, more than anyone else in the game as well, but he's just brilliant, and he kind of does a bit of everything. He's not shirking his tackles and his defensive duties, but he's also getting the ball on the turn and playing forward passes. He even had one shot, all right, a bit central and fairly straightforward for the keeper, but he's looking to get to the edge of the box when he can. And for a kid who's 19, doing that, and it's hilarious because today the Sun newspaper spit there from that are reporting that Man United are still confident that they can get a Miles Lewis Skelly transfer done. However, the sticking point is the 50 million price tag, and it's like whoa, double that and we'll have a conversation, please.
Well,
because
we won't have a conversation.
Well, we won't have a conversation, and Arteta's been very clear on the fact that he will be an Arsenal player come the end of the window. So again, albeit for the the ragtop newspaper to be trying to unsettle the champions. Funny that. But Lewis Skelly's amazing, and the fact that he's in the conversation for our starting 11.
I mean, arguably, we've got the best midfield in the country. I think that's unarguably. I think.
The depth of options, considering Zubimendi and Marino came on as subs, and Bruno was out.
World Cup winners.
World Cup winners, Zubimendi and Marino. It's just beggars belief, doesn't it?
You got Rice, Bruno G.
And why would he go? You've got Rice, who's now, 27? And then you've got Bruno G, who's like 28. Marino, who's now just north of 30. Lewis Skelly is the future of that midfield as well, but he's also the now of that midfield.
The present, yeah.
He's so good. Yeah.
He has got everything, and he's only 19. This is ridiculous. We've got a generational talent there that not that we've been blinded to, but the club maybe.
Yeah.
Any kind of suggestion that he was being touted around, and fair play to him, he's with his performances on the pitch, he's made it impossible for that conversation to continue.
Yeah.
His that pass in the Community Shield against City.
He did another one against Coventry of similar ilk, where he played it through a channel of players where you didn't even see who the Arsenal player was. But it didn't quite. The Arsenal player didn't get on the end of it, but he's got that vision as well. Oh. Right, who were you impressed by?
Okay, I put Ødegaard just because I wanted to talk about Miles Lewis Skelly first. Ben White, absolutely get that complete. I mean, with that performance, there were any number of players that you were most impressed by. But for me, it's the first league game. I know the Community Shield counts as a competitive game. First league game, Ødegaard was brilliant. Like, it was Ødegaard of 3 seasons ago.
Were you most impressed by his utterly meaningful and total conviction finish, where he absolutely didn't
and him celebrating in kind? Whoops.
Yeah.
No, he like his performance warranted, deserved the goal. He was just brilliant. Like, again, just playing. As he says himself, he's fit for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah.
He's off the back of a very successful World Cup for him personally and his country. He's not overplayed. He won't be tired. And please just keep him free of these really unfortunate injuries that he picked up.
Yeah, nothing massive, but all niggling and
knee completely, and nothing to do with being overtrained or overplayed. It was like knee on knee in the 22nd minute of a game. It's like, so that's good. Okay, positive takeaway from Chris.
Hang on, I've come out the wrong window there. Positive takeaway, and this is actually mine as well, so it doubled up. Chris says, watching a game put to bed with over half an hour to go was a rare treat and allowed us to rest legs, give the finishers a run out and start the title defence, brackets attack, with a clean sheet. For me, it was the subs on the hour mark. The ability to manage the squad even within a game. When you take Rice off, Saka off, those are the players that you absolutely want to try and protect. And look, we're bringing on players like Marino, Zubimendi as well, at different points, which was great. Eze, who ended up replacing Zolis on the left. You're absolutely right. We're talking top quality players as well. So yeah, that was absolutely a positive and certainly something I want to see more of.
And related to that, my positive takeaway, I wrote down stress-free and the relaxed nature of the players. I just thought that was good. And again, you referenced the clean sheet. I think that was important. Coventry had one big chance, that header
late on.
That was straight at Raya late on. And that would have... I think it's really important for that defence and Raya to start off with a clean sheet. Just to maintain that consistency, not just from game to game, but from season to season.
Yes.
That muscle memory is like, no, we don't concede goals. We don't concede shots.
Yeah.
So, let's keep this going. We've got half of our back four missing. But does that matter? I thought Mosquera played really well as well. I mean,
it did.
It has to be said. Everybody played really well. What's Chris's negative takeaway?
His negativity says, none about the game itself. Typical that Bruno G was injured, so hope that's not a couple of weeks that turns into 3 months. He says there's also the lingering bad taste around the Martinelli saga. We all agree it's probably time to move on from him, but the irony of pushing out a player who wants to stay and possibly replacing him with one who doesn't want to come is rich. Just hope the whole affair doesn't disrupt squad harmony. Yeah.
Okay, and yours?
I can't remember. I put it's on a different thing. Sorry. I would have, and this is really nitpicking. I would have liked to have seen a goal once we'd made the sub changes. I would something to give, whether it was Madueke confidence or Zubamendi confidence or Eze confidence when he's on the left, for them to have been able to finish off a move would have been good. So the slight negative is that they didn't, and I'd feel bad for them because that would have helped with their confidence because they would have contributed. But also, I wasn't overly impressed by Madueke, and Eze sort of gets lost on the left a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, but Marino looked good. So.
Yeah, we won't talk about Madueke. I don't think a goal would do anything for his confidence. I think that's just, unfortunately, I think he's got all the attributes to be a world-class player.
Except one.
That pausing, that's taking an extra second, head up. Now, apparently, he did create big chances in that game as well. So he wasn't confirmation bias. I have to fight against confirmation bias. I didn't expect him. I didn't want him to come on. I wanted someone else to come on. I didn't expect him to play well when he came on. So therefore, I'm looking for all the evidence to support that. And I need to stop doing that. I need to be a little bit more kind of fair in my assessment of what he actually does.
And at the end of the day, what he actually does is allow Saka to come off with half an hour to go.
Okay.
I know.
So
does Dowman. So does Waneri. Yeah.
My negative takeaway is just we didn't score more goals.
So
again, similar to yours, I guess. But I just think, I just go back to the peak Wenger teams. They won their games in the tunnel before the game started. The way everyone's talking about us, and I realise everyone talked about Liverpool this time last season in a similar vein, but the way everyone's talking about us, we're favourites. It's how many points we're going to win the league by. I've heard people say that the Spurs home game, and I just might be wrong, but the Spurs game is the fifth last game of the season. We could win the league then. I've heard people say, Arsenal fans say that already. I'm like, behave yourself. Back in your box. But if the whole country is couching us in those terms, favourites, and we've beaten City 3-0 in the Community Shield, who are considered by most our our main challengers, and then we've continued, no set piece goals, by the way. We've continued that, and another 3-0 comfortable home win against the champions, or the newly promoted champions from the Championship. It just feeds into that narrative that it just keeps a bit like, and so if we'd beaten them 4 or 5, it just adds to that a little bit. Just, we'll go to Villa next week on Monday night. Now, Villa have been linked with Mateta and all sorts, and with Ollie Watkins going and what have you. So I don't know what team will turn up at Villa Park for us. Their fans will be really, 100% white noise behind their team. But their players are going to be smarting after a 4-0 thumping by Brighton. Any psychological advantage we can have over them in the tunnel beforehand. Start the game in a similar vein. Get a goal. Do you know what I mean? It's like just feeds in. We get a win at Villa, then we play Chelsea at home. You know, it's just I just think so. That my negative takeaway was, you know, again really nitpicky, but like let's keep your foot down on the throat when you've got your victim down there. You know, you got your 3-0's good. 4-0, 5-0, a little bit better. So again, I'll take 3-0 before the game started. Oh, well done, Chris, for predicting that, and I'm not bitter at all. Are we done? We've done all our hot takes, right? That's the hot takes done.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else to say about the Coventry game itself before we have a look at what else went on this weekend?
No, not particularly. It was very undramatic. There was no controversial moments. It was just a very sort of routine kind of thing. It was just I don't know. I get a bit. It's football being back gives me kind of like a routine, a kind of shape to my life now again. So it was just lovely to be back and seeing some old friends, like football friends who you only tend to see between August and May.
Football friends.
Yay!
Excellent. Right. Now, we did have a very good Saturday as Arsenal fans also. Spurs and Manchester United both played on Saturday. And I'm going to look at the other Big Six clubs for this segment. My question at the start was, and you can answer it now, would you be more worried as a Spurs fan or a United fan this morning?
United.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Spurs, starting from such a low base, have had to spend a huge amount of money and had a whole spine of their team playing together for the first time. So it was not surprising that perhaps that didn't gel in the way that they want. And they were missing a few players as well. Also, they were up against a Brentford side who were absolutely picking up where they left off and looked, incredibly
Can I just
slick.
say that my prediction for Keith Andrews being the first manager sacked this time last year is how poor a take was that?
You weren't the only person, because it was like, Thomas Frank had been there for so long and they operated so well that what you don't realise, there are certain clubs, and they all tend to begin with B and R, so like Brighton and like Brentford, that actually it's the structures within the club. It's from the top down, and the coach is a massive part of that, but ultimately, they're able to function in the same way. Now, it's those clubs who are so volatile to who's in the coaching seat are the ones that seem to fluctuate in their form so much. And that goes for Spurs, that goes for United as well, because they're getting someone in, they have a good start, and it's like, oh, they're the saviour, and then it plateaus, and it's like, oh, they're the worst thing in the world, because again, the structures around them perhaps aren't good enough to support them. And as a United fan, I would be looking at that and worrying about distance ran. I'd be worrying about the organisation on set pieces, because the hilarious video going round of Maguire manhandling his own player as the Hull player knocks the ball home is just hilarious. And like I said, Goldbridge pointed out on one of his streams that United could feasibly have the same back four that they had in 2022, and they weren't amazing then and needed to improve things, and they're just not, and it's all a bit weird. Yeah.
Well, you made the point that most teams, when doing a rebuild, start at the back and move forwards. But United bought 3 attackers last summer. They're about to sign 3 midfielders this summer. I believe 70 million plus 5 or whatever it is coming in. That I'd be much. If you think of strongest starting 11, if you're United, to that team currently, you might be adding Belieber, Sesko starting up front. He was on the bench. There's no one else you're adding to that team massively, as it was. No. And Carrick's been there longer, and he's had more time. If you're Spurs, and I'll be corrected by Spurs fans, but I think it's arguable that only 4 of that team might start, if everyone's fully fit, might start for Spurs. And so they've got a big improvement in terms of personnel they can make on that performance. However, just one mitigation there. De Zerbi, who we know is just mad.
Quite volatile at times.
I was quite surprised that he name-checked 3 players in his post-match interview about being unfit.
Yeah.
Tonali, Senesi and Van Heck. I know Tonali wasn't at the World Cup. Senesi? Van Heck?
I couldn't tell you.
Did
Van
they
Heck was in the Dutch squad, yeah.
So the World Cup's not an excuse there, but the fact he's name-checked them.
That's not going to help, surely.
That's not going to help.
I know.
Like, if you're Tonali, you're thinking, why has he called me out?
Also, it's your job as coaches to get me fit.
Why is he not fit?
Yeah, why is he not fit?
So I just, yes, I think that was an absolute hammering and Brentford were brilliant. But Brentford away, first game of the season, not the easiest place to go and get a result, as we know.
Oh, yeah, do we know?
I didn't see Carragher and Neville dancing on the touchline, though, for the Spurs game. Maybe they were dancing somewhere. I don't know. So, difficult place to go. Did we lose there last season?
No, we drew 1-1.
We drew, right, okay. But we were lucky to get away with the draw. Like, we were pummeled in that second half. Throw in. So Brentford's a tough place to go. So fine. But Hull City, who came up through the championship, everybody's odds-on favourite to be finish in 20th position. To beat United, to lose to them, it doesn't matter if it's home or away. I mean, United have been gifted with the fixture list. They got 2 of the 3 promoted teams in their first 2 games. So they're home to Ipswich.
Look at the pressure on that game.
Yes, all instantly. And Ipswich played really well. And Enciso, he was really good at Brighton. I remember him. But like Ipswich just made some pretty decent signings.
Well, it's a canny signing as well because obviously McKenna left. Basically, of his own accord, he didn't want another run at the Premier League again. So they get in Gary O'Neill from Strasbourg. Who did Gary O'Neill have at Strasbourg? Enciso.
Yeah.
So that continuity, that kind of joined-up thinking can only be a good thing. And, maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction. Maybe Ipswich do struggle, but didn't see that, against a decent Sunderland side at the weekend at all. And like you say, they're going to be going to Old Trafford now going, right, let's have a go. Because United are going to be wary and nervous, and maybe they'll get a reaction. Maybe they will, but.
And where are United weakest?
In defence.
As in defence, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
So if the encouragement will be there to go for it. Although, having said that, United do well against teams who dominate possession against them and hit them on the counter-attack. That's why they had Carrick had a great record against the other Big Six. Yeah. Like they beat us at the Emirates, for example, in a similar fashion, just hitting us on the break. But where teams don't come out, and Ipswich won't come out, they're not stupid. They've got nothing, and they can be picked off on the counter attack. Man City, laboured would be a good way of describing their.
Well, can I just read what Chris has said? So he says,
yes,
United, mauled by the Tigers, great to see newly promoted teams stick one on the big boys. Why wasn't Gary Neville dancing with the Hull fans on the touchline at full time? He says, Spurs just beaten by a better team, so no shock there. And then he says, City scraping through versus a good Bournemouth side was annoying, but they have a job replacing Silva and Rodri. And he's got some things on Liverpool, but I just want to stick on that City thing because Bournemouth led for a long time, absolutely right, 1-0, and looking at it, generally probably wasn't the most amazing performance from City, but they absolutely bossed possession and they did create chances. I'm not sure it was the way we. And I come away from the weekend. I know a lot of people are going to be talking up Chelsea because of their attack, but for me, it's City again. Sheer force of will, quality of players that they've got. The issue will be how Maresca handles being, coming out from Pep's shadow, because I don't think he allayed many fears.
Did you see someone did a comparison of him at Chelsea to him at City, that he's dressing like Pep did?
He's now wearing a suit. when he
He's
used
coming
to
onto
wear
the
the tracky
pitch,
gear.
coming onto the pitch
To have a go at
through-
Shirky,
Yeah.
even though Shirky he brought on, got 2 assists and could be argued to have rescued the game. Yeah, he's not going to help with those Pep comparisons, but City have got the players, they've got the firepower, they just have.
I'm not sure Bournemouth are a good team. I think Chris is judging them on last season. Iriola's not there.
I think they're good, they'll be fine.
But we don't know. But away, I'd have been pretty confident coming up first game of the season home to Bournemouth. That would have suited me as a first fixture, definitely. But he played Gay and O'Reilly in midfield.
Riley almost as a number 10. Yeah.
Right. I'm liking this complete
Galaxy Brain.
Yeah.
Who used to go Galaxy Brain?
No, absolutely.
Pep.
So annoying that the 2 late goals, absolutely annoying. But I think there's enough I don't know, hope there from an Arsenal perspective that the City will drop points.
Well, there's not. Yeah, I mean, I look at the likes of City and even Chelsea last night. There are flaws, or certainly more flaws than perhaps we're seeing from Arsenal at the moment, because we've been able to continue that momentum.
I mean, that said, City have just bought Buardi for 100 million, and by all reports they're going to come back in for Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea midfield. So their midfield will look very different in a few weeks' time.
Rumours of Gakpo as well.
Well, yeah, Gakpo's an interesting one because Marmoush could be going to Spurs, but Spurs want Gakpo. But City now have come in for Gakpo as well. If Marmoush goes, they're going to buy Gakpo. It's all very complicated. The final 7 days of the transfer window will be quite...
Well, I might come back to that when we start talking transfers, especially with Gakpo and Liverpool. But yeah, okay.
Liverpool themselves then, they drew 2-2 with a 97th minute penalty, whatever it was. They scored late last season at St James in the opening fixtures, but that was to Rio Ingamoa scored to make it 3-2. And it was a similar... I'm like, why are Newcastle pushing so many players forward here? They're winning 2-1. And yeah, penalty. And it was a soft penalty, but I can see why it was given as a penalty. But did everybody want to see Isak step up to take that penalty? He bottled it completely.
Well, Szoboszlai is, as he proved, a brilliant penalty taker.
That was a ridiculous penalty.
That's a good one, wasn't it?
That's not the point. I wanted to see Isak.
I know. Narrative. I love a narrative. That would have been a good one.
Can I just say on Liverpool? Liverpool have 2 defensive-minded players in that team, and that's your 2 centre-backs. They've got Frimpong and Gerkes, who just are wing-backs, but they bomb on. And then central midfield, Gravenberch has played as a holding player, but it's not his natural position. His first thought is always forward. It's progressive. Szoboszlai alongside him. Now, McAllister didn't start the game, I believe.
No, he came on as a sub.
So Wirtz was the 3rd midfielder. And then you've got Isak. Who played up front? Who were their front 3?
Gakpo played.
Isak, Gakpo and Munoz. Did Munoz start
No, he
the game?
came on as a sub.
I can't remember anyway. But again, the front 3 are obviously attacking-minded players. Yep. So Liverpool may well score lots of goals, but they are going to concede an absolute shed load. And they're being linked with wingers. So that's not going to help that at all. McAllister can come in, but I think Jamie Carragher said he believes that the pace of the Premier League has left McAllister behind in the last couple of seasons, and he'll know Liverpool a lot better than I do. And he's genuinely concerned. Like, there's no mention of Liverpool looking for a right back or a left back or a holding midfielder. It's all winger, and they need a replacement for Salah for sure. And then on the left, I don't understand spending like 150 million on Barcola when Ekitike will play there. And if Ekitike doesn't play there,
or keep Gakpo,
he'll play through the middle. But it's just really strange. And Liverpool have had 2 bids for Yakuba Minter from Brighton turned down, and
who's injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris says Liverpool lucky against depleted but energised Newcastle, who cut through them with ease. And then he says, didn't see the Chelsea game, but I fancy Fulham to struggle this season, so not putting too much praise on their win. And I'd just like to say as well, so I feel like Newcastle will be the Keith Andrews of this season, because everyone is predicting, well, Newcastle could drop like a stone, some even maybe going as far as potential relegation candidates. But I heard a couple of pieces of analysis saying that things had become maybe slightly predictable under Howe, so a coaching change might not necessarily be the worst thing. Getting 100 million for Tonali, you're just going to take that all day long.
Yeah.
They would not have liked to have lost Guimaraes at the same time, but at least what they've done, they've replaced with a plan. Yes, they've gone young, but they're not young players who are completely unproven. They're young players who have been doing bits, albeit in the French league, German league, wherever it is that they've come from. And don't get me wrong, they are young, they are inexperienced, and it will be different. But the fact that Visser, who played 4 games last season, come back in and looked absolutely brilliant against Liverpool. Elanga, who knew when he joined Newcastle might not even be first choice. Well, now you're the main man, go and do it. And he looked pretty good as well. And so, yeah, I wonder if, and reasonable it would have been to predict, doom and gloom, because you sell that many players, you can't help but worry a little bit in one window. But, maybe Newcastle have hit upon something. I think they'll be more comfortable than a lot were predicting.
Yeah, I mean, I still fancied Liverpool to win the game beforehand. I thought Liverpool were odds, and I'm sure they were odds-on favourites to win the game. I do think it's 2 points dropped, but if we're looking to kind of see what takeaway can we glean from each of the club's opening weekend fixtures, from the ones we've talked about so far, that as you said, there are flaws to varying degrees with all clubs now. 8 days left in the transfer, we're 7 days left in the transfer window. I suspect City will look a lot stronger, and Liverpool with Barcola will obviously be improved on that, although he does not solve their problem. No. So I don't think, if I'm looking for my kind of confirmation of pre-season expectations, Liverpool I don't have as a potential threat, and that's still the case. Manchester United, Spurs, same. I think Spurs will be stronger than their opening day defeat to Brentford. Absolutely. I think Manchester United would be, out of all the big six, if I was a fan of any of the big six, I'd be more concerned if I was a Man United fan than any of the others after the first weekend. On to last night's game, Chelsea. And I think I have them down as finishing second. Pre-season felt they would be our biggest threat, and I'm really looking for an injury to Cole Palmer sometime soon, because their front three is probably the best front three in the Premier League. João Pedro, Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers, and with decent backup as well. However, if they lose Fernandes, I know Caicedo didn't play. If they start in 2 weeks' time against us with the midfield of Reece James and Lavia, I'll be delighted, because we'll get at their defence and Bobby Sanchez in goal. Hopefully he's still there. Again, I'd be a little bit concerned if Chelsea go out and buy a decent goalkeeper in the last 7 days, because...
Well, I posted out yesterday on our social media that for this Chelsea team, with all the money spent, to still have Robert Sanchez in goal feels like negligence, because he's such a weak point. I think I compared him to that air vent on the Death Star in Star Wars, because they've got a Death Star, but they've got a little air vent where if you shoot that, it blows up. I mean, it's just bizarre.
I mean, both goals. He was culpable for both goals.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Probably was.
And again, Fulham, the most inexperienced manager. I think they, as Chris said, they will struggle this season. But they look decent going forward. They could. I mean, Chelsea.
Robinson could have equalised that.
That miss.
Yeah, because Sanchez was in no man's land again. And
I mean, Sanchez, it would have been like a hat-trick of mistakes leading to goals from Sanchez. Chelsea deservedly won the game. I'm not saying they didn't. They created a lot more chances. But Fulham, a weakened Fulham, they, created enough chance, scored 2 and created enough chances to score 2, a couple more as well.
So on that, can I just chip in? Because Brody, on our Patreon, I asked if there were any questions to our Patreon members. If you want to input questions, those people that are listening, join our Patreon for free and get involved in the chat. And Brody said, after the first game week, who should we fear the most? I'm going City. Are you sticking with Chelsea?
I'm sticking with Chelsea for now.
Okay.
I mean, that might change once the window closes. We'll see where everyone's at, because City could weaken Chelsea. City buying Fernandes could weaken Chelsea and strengthen them. So that might kind of pivot me away from Chelsea to City as the main threat. I just think a Pep-less City,
different beast,
is the unknown at the moment.
So pivoting towards transfers, which I know we'll finish off with, it was interesting yesterday because both sets of fans, Fulham and Chelsea fans, were both booing Enzo Fernandez. Fulham fans, presumably because A, he plays for Chelsea and B, he's Argentinian and they're kind of like, public enemies number one at the moment. But the Chelsea fans, because obviously the contract situation, he wants out and kind of, hasn't tried to hide that. But Chelsea want an astronomical figure for him. So it's kind of Mexican standoff at the moment.
I didn't realise that Argentinian substitute who came off on the pitch and celebrating in front of Jude Bellingham, who then slapped him,
is now at Chelsea.
Is a Chelsea substitute yesterday.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They made their subs. At least 2, maybe even 3, were debutants who I've never heard of. I've never heard of any of them. They're ridiculous. They've still got that issue of having about 40 odd players to try and work out what on earth to do with. It's one thing having an inflated squad, but Arsenal have got players around who perhaps, we would prefer to move on, but we're not having to have people change in different facilities or train with different teams because we literally can't accommodate them.
And we haven't given our players 8-year contracts.
And we haven't given them 8-year contracts. Yeah, absolutely right. It's all a bit weird. But yeah, there are other transfer sagas going on with players in similar positions who are also Argentinian. Are we going to talk about him?
Who are we talking about?
Julian Alvarez.
Oh, yeah.
Because Chris says, just to add, is there a possibility that we bring Alvarez in on loan for a season with no obligation to buy? This might suit all parties. Well, I don't think it will, because he'll still go back to Atletico, who still won't sell to Barca.
No, he would be. If anything, he'd use us as a 2-year stepping stone to Barca. That would be kind of.
And as we were swapping messages this morning, I'm all right with that, because I've been slightly annoyed over the last sort of 24, 48 hours of people online who don't seem to understand how transfers work. Yes, we would much prefer to treat Martinelli with a little bit more respect, but he's got 1 year left on his contract, with a view that you could maybe extend it to 2. The club clearly don't want to do that. So what you've got to do is sell now to get a fee for him. You can't compare the fee we're getting to, say, a Morgan Rogers or whoever, because length of contract comes into play. Morgan Rogers probably had longer on his contract, so Chelsea have to pay more to get him out of that contract.
And Martinelli's on a big salary as well.
And Martinelli is on a bigger salary than Morgan Rogers would have been at Villa. You also can't compare him. The one today that's annoying me, lots of people tweeting about it. What, we're going to sell Martinelli before Madueke? Surely Martinelli is better. Again, we only bought Madueke last season. I get it from a footballing point of view. I do feel Martinelli could maybe do more than Madueke, but the football business side of things just doesn't see it like that, and to ignore it is just willfully ignorant. So Martinelli, because of the year left on his contract, it's looking like he's going to Saudi. Talks, according to Hand of Arsenal, Arteta had some sort of like clear the air talks or whatever, saying, yeah, okay, you don't want to go to Turkey, fine. Saudi might have to be a compromise. Why? Because he's going to earn 20 million a year. Now, that's hard to knock. Yes, it's not a Premier League. Yes, it's not a top division in Europe, and he won't be competing for those big trophies. But he goes there for a couple of years, earns generational wealth, and then he can maybe look at the sort of, next phase of his career beyond that. And meanwhile, we get, it's reported about 60 million, and then we can use that to hopefully augment the attack. Now, my only sticking point with it is if we don't necessarily replace him. If we don't replace Martinelli, particularly on the left, I feel like we might be a bit imbalanced, relying on Zolis. I'm not sure about.
We've weakened ourselves.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Eze on the left as well. So that's my only thing. The sale, not necessarily a problem with. I get it from a business point of view. Emotionally, look, I love Martinelli. He's great.
Sad to see him go.
Absolutely. Yeah, we totally get that. But you've got to put your realistic hat on as well. And also, it's quite funny. I was watching or tuning into Harry Symeou and Tom Canton over the last couple of days doing their YouTube programmes. And again, people are sort of split. We want Arsenal to be ruthless, but not that ruthless.
Not with the nice players.
Not with the nice players. Not with those players. We want them to be ruthless with the players we don't like. And it's like, you can't pick and choose. Like, circumstance is massive with this, and it is purely because Martinelli's contract situation
Arsenal are fully entitled to sell Martinelli.
Yeah.
And I don't think any Arsenal fan will object to the sale of Martinelli. Obviously, in and of his own. But then the wider context is, I don't want to sell him if no one else is coming in. And because we sell him, does that mean that we need to focus more on an actual left winger, Barcola, or Alvarez? Then is will an Alvarez signing still make us weaker on the left hand side? Having said that, I would take that if you're offering me Martinelli out and an Alvarez in, I'm taking that all day long, just because I think Alvarez is a world class striker and we don't have one, and. I think Alvarez would really dovetail well with Havertz as well as in place of Havertz. I think they'd work well together, and I think Alvarez can play wide of a front three, wide on the left of a front three as well.
So just now we're talking about Alvarez. The other reaction, which again people are sort of overlooking, is like, just because he's said that Barcelona is his first choice doesn't mean that if he ends up at a different club, he's not going to deliver. He's a professional footballer. He came on as a substitute for Atletico the other night, and they ended up, he didn't score the penalty, but with him on the pitch, they ended up salvaging a draw. He's not unprofessional in those circumstances. He's just made it known that Barcelona is the team that he wants to go to. And I dug it out because I had a look at this because someone mentioned it on another programme. When Man City signed Aguero in 2012, he did an interview later on that was reported in The Guardian, and you can search this up online, so it's 2012, that he said, if Real Madrid had come knocking, I'd have wanted to gone there. Do you think Man City fans care that he may have wanted to go to Real Madrid initially? No, because when he came to Man City, he gave it his all, knowing that maybe eventually down the road a move to Real Madrid would surface. It didn't for Aguero. He became a legend. It is what it is. Now, I'm not saying Alvarez is going to do that, but let's say we were to go in. We're lurking in the background. We know Atletico don't want to sell to Barcelona, so maybe we can get him at a slightly lower price. And like you say, you can't have enough top-class players in your team. I said the same when we had the chance to get Fabregas back, and we didn't. We passed up on it. So to add him to our attack, I don't really want to see Victor go, which is also a reported thing that could be in the offing. I want to add him to our attack because, like you say, he can play left as well. When he's here, whether it's for a year, whether it's for 2 years, he's going to give it his all. And if we get into the latter part of the season and Havertz has picked up another injury and Gyökeres has kind of had to overplay his minutes, how nice would it be to call on Julian Alvarez? And this whole thing of like, well, if he doesn't want us, then we don't want him. It's like, come on. Be realistic.
The narrative is ridiculous.
So many players want to play for this, that and the other club. And you put it best. Look, we have to admit, what is it? Real Madrid, Barca, they're bigger pools than us. They just are.
Yeah,
historically.
We're below them in the food chain.
Of course we are.
Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're still a destination club, but there will be those elite players. Why? Listen, if we were above Barca and Real Madrid, Vinny J would be playing for us now.
Exactly.
I just hope that, I fear that in the same way that Vinicius Junior used us to leverage Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid may be leveraging us, or Alvarez's camp may be leveraging us to flush out a bigger bid from Barcelona. Barcelona have offered, said, look, 100 million we'll offer you 100 million. Real Madrid did Atletico Madrid a deliberate favour, when they offered 150 million for him in the summer. Perez, the part of that presidential election campaign, and they offered 150 million for Alvarez, just so Atletico Madrid could say no, but that fixed the price, or the bottom end price, 150 million euros. And I'd still listen. If you think he's going to come to us and mope about, he's a professional footballer, and ultimately
it will be a shop window for Barca a year or two down the line, and then we also then have the bargaining power, knowing that he wants Barcelona and Barcelona might want him, so we can hold out for a few more million.
Or the irony would be if we get Alvarez and Barcelona come in for Victor, because the Gyökeres has been linked to Barcelona. They do need a striker.
Yep.
They have created space. Ferran Torres has gone to PSG.
He has.
Scored 2 goals on his debut. So they've got a space there for a centre. I think Rafinha played centre forward for them.
As a false nine. I watched a lot of their first game against Elche, and Adeyemi would sort of drift in from the left as well. And then obviously Jamal on the right.
Just on Martinelli, Ituano, what's the name of the club that we signed him from? Brazilian, like third tier, or whatever it was, Ituano, something like that. Anyway, they've got a 10, 15, 20% sell-on clause, so they're going to get a massive payday from any sale. Martinelli, I think it's 60 million euros, like 55 million pounds. Did Brody say anything else about transfers?
Well, he's got a couple of other questions, but not about transfers. The other transfer thing I would like to talk about is the situation with Liverpool, because I was very surprised when you brought it to my attention that City might be in for Gakpo, because like you say, they probably don't, if they're selling Spurs Marmoush, they don't also want him, they don't want Gakpo going there. They'll bring in Gakpo to augment their squad. But that's interesting because Gakpo could be the player that leaves in order for Liverpool to make the Barcola deal work. Because literally, not even in terms of money, but more in terms of squad space, because they've got to register the foreign players. And so, those pieces moving. And I do wonder if then City will wonder if they should even go for Gakpo, because leave him there. Make Liverpool stick with what they've got rather than get the shiny new toy in, because Barcola could come in and maybe transform them. They don't know. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Maybe we're still in the background. PSG clearly want to offload Barcola because he didn't make the matchday squad in their opening game, which was a 2-2 draw away at Rennes. And so he's going to be on the move at some point. As to where, not 100% sure. But yeah.
And Yildiz is injured and out for a few weeks as well at Juventus. Maybe taking him off the table.
Rafael Leao at AC Milan, a player I absolutely do not want, but he was left out of the matchday squad. Milan expect him to go at some point as well.
And I'd like Junior Krupi from Bournemouth, but he's not really fit till January because he's injured as well.
So Brody's other questions from the Patreon were, who will be our top scorer this season, assuming no more business is done? Well, in current form, it's probably Havertz, but I think just because of the goals he will poach, I think Victor plays in that role. He could easily be top scorer again.
Do you read anything into the fact that he didn't come on?
No, not really. I mean, it's one of those. We forget we've had situations like this that have been way more pointed. Victor was in the squad. We made the changes that we did. Havertz didn't necessarily need to come off. A few years ago, we had Gabriel, didn't we? We had a Saudi club who were making eyes at Gabriel.
Can you imagine that?
We didn't play him.
Sliding doors.
Yeah, sliding doors situation. And he stayed here. He won the league. We got another 4-year contract out of him. So we've had situations like this before. Martinelli not being in the matchday squad was the more pointed omission.
Can I add something that you haven't? I don't think you noticed it because you didn't mention it, and I have. Well, I didn't mention it either, I guess. About Victor, did you notice that after the final whistle?
No.
On Friday, he was the last one in, and he did a little walk around with one of the coaches, a little walk around, not the perimeter of the pitch, and he was just applauding all sides of the ground as he walked down the tunnel. Just an observation.
Okay.
And he didn't come on. I do think that was quite interesting.
You think?
Just because of the rumours. I mean, if Barcelona buy Victor Gyökeres, they're not going to then go and buy Alvarez.
Nope.
So Alvarez then will be faced with the clear choice of stay in a very hostile environment. It won't be. Listen, if he stays, Simeone will get the Atleti fans back on side again, and they'll support Alvarez once he scores a couple of winners or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think now, if as we are now, do you think Alvarez is likely or not?
Not. It's more not likely than likely.
I agree.
And I don't see the sense in offloading Gyökeres in any way, shape or form. There are other players who should be ahead of him out the door than that, and that would be Gabriel Jesus. But I can understand why he doesn't want to go. He's on good money. He's got a year left. He waits a year. He goes on a free.
Well, because he won't play. He's a footballer, and he's getting to the age where he needs surely to.
It depends what your motivation is, and he's
prioritise playing. Surely
you should, absolutely should, but they don't. And
we won't take a fee. We won't really take much of a fee for him because it's his wages that we
exactly. Arsenal saying they're going to hold out for like 20 million. It's like, yeah, I don't think it'll be that. It'll be half that maybe, because they're going to have to pay that again for his wages. The other thing is, like, yes, prioritise playing, but then sometimes it is about. You look at Norgard and the way people spoke about him and his contribution away from the pitch last season. Now, he would have wanted to play. That's probably why he's been allowed to go to Everton. But he's at the lower end, lower end wages, lower end fees. It doesn't move the dial either way. When you're talking the high wages of Jesus and you're talking the fees of Alvarez, it becomes way more complicated.
Okay. On transfers. Arteta's 3 most influential transfers, signings rather. Who would you say?
Well, I'll read out Chris's first, because obviously,
and mine are the same as Chris's.
So yours are the same as Chris's, so you can explain them. He says David Raya, Gabriel Magalhaes, Gabby XL, and Declan Rice.
Do they require explanation?
Okay.
And are yours not the same 3?
Mine are not the same 3.
Oh.
I've cheated a little bit. Rice, yeah. Arsenal pay £100 million for a player who is ready to go, world class, makes a massive difference. That's,
when £100 million player was more than 100 million, like it was more significant than
felt
that
like a statement.
Now.
Yeah. The other one that I've included, so it is Raya, but for me it's Ramsdale/Raya, because I think Ramsdale coming in helped create the unity between the fan base and the team, because he was a bit of a character and because he certainly fostered a relationship with the fans, aside from anything, having his dad in the away end chatting to people made a massive difference. But then the way we stepped up, Arteta's insistence, no, Raya, for that marginal gain, because at first none of us could see it. I doubted it. And this is the thing that's getting me about everyone's sentimentality about Martinelli. It's like, I get it, but we have been through this before to a certain extent.
But he got 1 Premier League goal last season.
And exactly. I'm not sure his contribution in the league, top scorer in the Champions League for us, fine, is maybe the same as Ramsdale. But that little difference. And now we all look at Raya and just go, he's just world class. He's just a brilliant, brilliant keeper. The other player I've got is Gabriel Jesus. That elevation, signing the 2 City players for that first half of his season, we were lifted by the whole thing, and it took off. And I think in terms of influence and what they brought, having come from a winning environment to Arsenal, was transformative.
Yeah, I agree, but I just can't see how they are more influential than. Ultimately, the whole point is to win the Premier League.
Yeah,
and Raya, Gabriel, and Rice were
major factors in that.
Fundamental.
Gabriel at the back has been, the slow burn. He's been there. It's the whole of Arteta's thing. He was bought in the first window, wasn't he? That Arteta had.
We looked it up. I think it was. Wasn't
it? Yeah. So Gabriel's been there for the whole time. That slow burn, that slow development. Maybe I went for Jesus just more that initial impact. Was a quick step.
And honourable mentions for the likes of Trossard,
Zinchenko. Odegaard.
Zinchenko the same. Odegaard, yeah, I think he would have been 4th on my list, because he was on loan before Arteta.
Well, same as Raya.
Is that true?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Was that before Arteta, though?
Oh, I don't know.
It might not have been.
But either way.
Yeah, okay. I've got one final thing on Arteta himself.
Okay.
He's got to 150 wins in the Premier League in sub 250 games. He's now alongside Mourinho, Ferguson, Klopp and Pep. Now, he hasn't won as much as those guys yet.
Yeah.
But he's got an FA Cup. Yeah, he's got an FA Cup and a Premier League. I think he needs the Champions League to be talked about justifiably.
I think retaining
in
the
that
Premier
company.
League will elevate him further.
Yeah,
Massively.
well, that's almost a done deal, isn't it?
Shut up. Week 1. I love this.
I think the supercomputer thing, a predictor thing, or whatever that is, has a 55% chance. Interestingly, in second is Man City. So they agree with you that City are the main rival to us.
Yeah.
And if Pep was in charge, I would, without hesitation,
Look at Pep's last couple of
even having
seasons.
lost Rodri and Silva, without hesitation, I would say. But what's his name? Maresca can go to any length he wants. Pep, he is not. Anyway, anything else?
No, I think that's it. All good.
Cool. Okay, so we're back again on Friday. Well, recording on Friday to do a Villa preview. The Villa game, of course, is not until the Monday evening. So in the meantime, have a great few days. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And whatever we've done the next few days, enjoy. And we'll see you again on Friday and thereafter. Cheerio. Bye.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.